Part 7 of The Matchless Orinda. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Elizabeth Klett. Poems by the most deservedly admired Mrs. Katherine Phillips, The Matchless Orinda. Part 7. Poems 61 to 70. 61. A Country Life. How sacred and how innocent a country life appears! How free from tumult, discontent, from flattery or fears! This was the first and happiest life when man enjoyed himself, till pride exchanged peace for strife, and happiness for pelf. 'Twas here the poets were inspired, here taught the multitude. The brave they here with honour fired, and civilized the rude. That golden age did entertain no passion but of love, the thoughts of ruling and of gain did ne'er their fancies move. None then did envy neighbour's wealth, nor plot to wrong his bed. Happy in friendship and in health, on roots, not beasts, they fed. They knew no law nor physic then, nature was all their wit. And if there yet remain to men content, sure this is it. What blessings doth this world afford to tempt or bribe desire! Her courtship is all fire and sword, who would not then retire? Then welcome, dearest solitude, my great felicity, though some are pleased to call thee rude, thou art not so, but we. Them that do covet only rest, a cottage will suffice. It is not brave to be possessed of earth, but to despise. Opinion is the rate of things, from hence our peace doth flow. I have a better fate than kings, because I think it so. When all the stormy world doth roar, how concerned am I? I cannot fear to tumble lower, who never could be high. Secure in these unenvied walls, I think not on the state, and pity no man's case that falls from his ambition's height. Silence and innocence are safe. A heart that's nobly true at all these little arts can laugh that do the world subdue. While others revel it in state, here I'll contented sit, and think I have as good a fate as wealth and pomp admit. Let some in courtship take delight, and to th' exchange resort, then revel out a winter's night, not making love but sport. These never know a noble flame, 'tis lust, scorn, or design, while vanity plays all their game, let peace and honour mine. When the inviting spring appears, to Hyde Park let them go, and hasting thence be full of fears to lose spring garden show. Let others, nobler, seek to gain in knowledge happy fate, and others busy them in vain to study ways of state. But I, resolved from within, confirmed from without, in privacy intend to spin my future minutes out. And from this hermitage of mine I banish all wild toys, and nothing that is not divine shall dare to tempt my joys. There are below but two things good, friendship and honesty, and only those of all I would ask for felicity. In this retired and humble seat, free from both war and strife, I am not forced to make retreat, but choose to spend my life. 62. To Mrs. Wogan, my honoured friend, on the death of her husband. Dry up your tears, there's enough shed by you, and we must pay our share of sorrows too. It is no private loss when such men fall, the world's concerned, and grief is general. But though of our misfortune we complain, to him it is injurious and vain. For since we know his rich integrity, his real sweetness and full harmony, how free his heart and house were to his friends, whom he obliged without design or ends, how universal was his courtesy, how clear a soul, how even and how high, how much he scorned disguise or meaner arts, but with a native honour conquered hearts. We must conclude he was a treasure lent, soon weary of this sordid tenement. The age and world deserved him not, and he was kindly snatched from future misery. We can scarce say he's dead, but gone to rest, and left a monument in every breast. For you to grieve then in this sad excess, is not to speak of love, but make it less. A noble soul no friendship will admit, but what's eternal and divine as it. The soul is hid in mortal flesh we know, and all its weaknesses must undergo, till by degrees it doth shine forth at length, and gathers beauty, purity, and strength. But never yet doth this immortal ray Put on full splendour till it put off clay. So infant love is in the worthiest breast, By sense and passion fetter'd and oppressed. But by degrees it grows still more refin'd, And scorning clogs only concerns the mind. Now as the soul you loved is here set free From its material gross capacity, Your love should follow him now he is gone, And quitting passion, put perfection on. Such love as this will its own good deny, If its dear object have felicity. And since we cannot his great loss reprieve, Let's not lose you in whom he still doth live. For while you are by grief secluded thus, It doth appear your funeral to us. 63. In memory of the most justly honoured Mrs. Owen of Orielton. As when the ancient world by reason lived, The Asian monarchs' deaths were never grieved. Their glorious lives made all their subjects call Their rites a triumph, not a funeral. So still the good are princes, and their fate Invites us not to weep, but imitate. Nature intends a progress of each stage, Whereby weak man creeps to succeeding age, Ripens him for that change for which he's made, Where the active soul is in her centre stayed. And since none stripped of infancy complain, Cause 'tis both their necessity and gain, So age and death by slow approaches come, And by that just inevitable doom, By which the soul, her cloggy dross once gone, Puts on perfection, and resumes her own. Since then we mourn a happy soul, O why disturb we her with erring piety? Who's so enamour'd on the beauteous ground, When with rich autumn's livery hung round, As to deny a sickle to his grain, And not undress the teeming earth again? Fruits grow for use, mankind is born to die, And both fates have the same necessity. Then grieve no more, sad relatives, but learn, Sigh not, but profit by your just concern. Read over her life's volume, wise and good, Not 'cause she must be so, but 'cause she would. To chosen virtue still a constant friend, She saw the times which changed but did not mend. And as some are so civil to the sun, They fixed his beams and make the earth to run, So she unmoved beheld the angry fate Which tore a church, and overthrew a state. Still durst be good, and own the noble truth, To crown her age which had adorned her youth. Great without pride, a soul which still could be Humble and high, full of calm majesty. She kept true state within, and could not buy Her satisfaction with her charity. Fortune or birth ne'er raised her mind, which stood Not on her being rich, but doing good. Obliged the world, but yet would scorn to be Paid with requitals, thanks, or vanity. How oft did she what all the world adore, Make the poor happy with her useful store? So general was her bounty, that she gave Equality to all before the grave. By several means she different persons tied, Who by her goodness only were allied. Her virtue was her temper, not her fit, Feared nothing but the crimes which some commit, Scorned those dark arts which pass for wisdom now, Nor to a mean ignoble thing could bow. And her vast prudence had no other end, But to forgive a foe, endear a friend. To use but slight the world, and fixed above Shine down in beams of piety and love. Why should we then by poor unjust complaint Prove envious sinners 'cause she is a saint? Close then the monument, let not a tear That may profane her ashes now appear. For her best obsequies are that we be Prudent and good, noble and sweet as she. 64. A Friend. Love, nature's plot, this great creation's soul, The being and the harmony of things, Doth still preserve and propagate the whole, From whence man's happiness and safety springs. The earliest, whitest, blessed times did draw From her alone their universal law. Friendship's an abstract of this nobler flame, 'Tis love refined and purged from all its dross, The next to angels' love, if not the same, As strong as passion is, though not so gross. It antedates a glad eternity, And is an heaven in epitome. Nobler than kindred or than marriage band, Because more free. Wedlock felicity itself doth only by this union stand, And turns to friendship or to misery. Force or design matches to pass may bring, But friendship doth from love and honour spring. If souls no sexes have, for men t'exclude woman from friendship's vast capacity, is a design injurious or rude, only maintained by partial tyranny. Love is allowed to us and innocence, and noblest friendships do proceed from thence. The chiefest thing in friends is sympathy. There is a secret that doth friendship guide, which makes two souls before they know agree, who by 1,000 mixtures are allied, and changed and lost, so that it is not known within which breast doth now reside their own. Essential honour must be in a friend, not such as every breath fans to and fro, but born within, is its own judge and end, and dares not sin though sure that none should know. Where friendship spoke, honesty's understood, for none can be a friend that is not good. Friendship doth carry more than common trust, and treachery is here the greatest sin. Secrets deposed then none ever must presume to open, but who put them in. They that in one chest lay up all their stock, had need be sure that none can pick the lock. A breast too open friendship does not love, for that the other's trust will not conceal, nor one too much reserved can it approve, its own condition this will not reveal. We empty passions for a double end, to be refreshed and guarded by a friend. Wisdom and knowledge friendship does require, the first for counsel, this for company, and though not mainly, yet we may desire both complaisance and ingenuity. Though everything may love, yet 'tis a rule, he cannot be a friend that is a fool. Discretion uses parts and best knows how, and patience will all qualities commend, that serves a need best, but this doth allow the weakness and passions of a friend. We are not yet come to the choir above, who cannot pardon here can never love. Thick waters show no images of things, friends are each other's mirrors, and should be clearer than crystal or the mountain springs, and free from clouds, design, or flattery. For vulgar souls no part of friendship share, poets and friends are born to what they are. Friends should observe and chide each other's faults, to be severe then is most just and kind. Nothing can scape their search who knew the thoughts, this they should give and take with equal mind. For friendship, when this freedom is denied, is like a painter when his hands are tied. A friend should find out each necessity, and then unasked relieve it at any rate. It is not friendship, but formality to be desired, for kindness keeps no state. Of friends he doth the benefactor prove that gives his friend the means to express his love. Absence doth not from friendship's right excuse, them who preserve each other's heart and fame, parting can ne'er divide, it may diffuse. As afar stretched out rivers still the same. Though presence helped them at the first to greet, their souls know now without these aids to meet. Constant and solid, whom no storms can shake, nor death unfix, a right friend ought to be, and if condemned to survive, doth make no second choice, but grief and memory. But friendship's best fate is, when it can spend a life, a fortune, all to serve a friend. 65. L'accord du bien. Order, by which all things are made, and this great world's foundation laid, is nothing else but harmony, where different parts are brought to agree. As empires are still best maintained, those ways which first their greatness gained, so in this universal frame what made and keeps it is the same. Thus all things unto peace do tend, even discords have it for their end. The cause why elements do fight is but their instinct to unite. Music could never please the sense but by united excellence. The sweetest note which numbers know, if struck alone, would tedious grow. Man, the whole world's epitome, is by creation harmony. 'Twas sin first quarrelled in his breast that made him angry with the rest. But goodness keeps that unity, and loves its own society so well, that seldom we have known one real worth to dwell alone. And hence it is we friendship call, not by one virtue's name, but all. Nor is it when bad things agree, thought union, but conspiracy. Nature and grace, such enemies, that when one fell t'other did rise, are now by mercy even set, as stars in constellations met. If nature were herself a sin, her author, God, had guilty been. But man by sin contracting stain, shall purged from that be clear again. To prove that nature's excellent, even sin itself's an argument. Therefore we nature's stain deplore, because itself was pure before. And grace destroys not, but refines, unveils our reason, then it shines, restores what was depressed by sin, the fainting beam of God within. The mainspring, judgment, rectified, will all the lesser motions guide, to splendour, labour, love, and care, not as things seem, but as they are. 'Tis fancy lost, wit thrown away, in trifles to employ that ray, which then doth in full lustre shine, when both ingenious and divine. To eyes by humour vitiated, all things seem falsely coloured, so 'tis our prejudicial thought that makes clear objects seem in fault. They scarce believe united good, by whom 'twas never understood. They think one grace enough for one, and 'tis because theirselves have none. We hunt extremes, and run so fast, we can no steady judgment cast. He best surveys the circuit round, who stands i' the middle of the ground. That happy mean would, let us see, knowledge and meekness may agree, and find, when each thing hath its name, passion and zeal are not the same. Who studies God doth upwards fly, and height still lessens to our eye, and he that knows God soon will see vast cause for his humility. For by that search it will be known there's nothing but our will our own. And who doth so that stock employ, but finds more cause for shame than joy? We know so little, and so dark, and so extinguish our own spark, that he who furthest here can go, knows nothing as he ought to know. It will with the most learned suit more to enquire than dispute, but vapours swell within a cloud, 'tis ignorance that makes us proud. So when their own vain heart belies, like inflammations quickly rise, but that soul which is truly great, is lowest in its own conceit. Yet while we hug our own mistake, we censures but not judgments make, and thence it is we cannot see obedience stand with liberty. Providence still keeps even state, but he can best command his fate, whose art by adding his own voice makes his necessity his choice. Rightly to rule one's self must be the hardest, largest monarchy, whose passions are his masters grown, will be a captive in a throne. He most the inward freedom gains, who just submission entertains, for while in that his reason sways, it is himself that he obeys. But only in eternity we can these beauteous unions see, for heaven itself and glory is but one harmonious constant bliss. 66. Invitation to the country. Be kind, my dear Rosania, though 'tis true thy friendship will become thy penance too. Though there be nothing can reward the pain, nothing to satisfy or entertain, though all be empty, wild, and like to me, who make new troubles in my company, yet is the action more obliging great, 'tis hardship only makes desert complete. But yet to prove mixtures all things compound, there may in this be some advantage found. For a retirement from the noise of towns is that for which some kings have left their crowns. And conquerors, whose laurel pressed the brow, have changed it for the quiet myrtle bough. For titles, honours, and the world's address are things too cheap to make up happiness. The easy tribute of a giddy race, and paid less to the person than the place. So false reflected, and so short content, is that which fortune and opinion lent. That who most tried it have of fate complained, with titles burden and to greatness chained. For they alone enjoyed what they possessed, who relished most and understood it best. And yet that understanding made them know the empty swift dispatch of all below. So that what most can outward things endear, is the best means to make them disappear. And even that tyrant, sense, doth these destroy, as more officious to our grief than joy. Thus all the glittering world is but a cheat, obtruding on our sense things gross for great. But he that can enquire and undisguise, will soon perceive the sting that hidden lies, and find no joys merit esteem but those whose scene lies only at our own dispose. Man unconcerned without himself may be his own both prospect and security. Kings may be slaves by their own passions hurled, but who commands himself, commands the world. A country life assists this study best, where no distractions do the soul arrest. There heaven and earth lie open to our view, there we search nature and its author too. possessed with freedom and a real state, look down on vice and vanity and fate. There, my Rosania, will we, mingling souls, pity the folly which the world controls, and all those grandeurs which the world do prize, we either can enjoy or will despise. 67. In memory of Mrs. E. H. As some choice plant cherished by sun and air, and ready to requite the gardener's care, blossoms and flourishes, but then we find is made the triumph of some ruder wind, so thy untimely grave did both entomb thy sweetness now, and wonders yet to come. Hung full of hopes thou sellest a lovely prize, just as thou didst attract all hearts and eyes. Thus we might apprehend, for had thy years been lengthened to have paid those vast arrears the world expected, we should then conclude the age of miracles had been renewed. For thou already hast with ease found out what others study with such pains and doubt, that frame of soul which is content alone, and needs no entertainment but its own. Thy even mind, which made thee good and great, was to thee both a shelter and retreat. Of all the tumults which this world do fill, thou wert an unconcerned spectator still, and were thy duty punctually supplied, indifferent to all the world beside, thou wert made up within resolved and fixed, and wouldst not with a base allay be mixed. Above the world couldst equally despise both its temptations and its injuries, couldst sum up all and find not worth desire those glittering trifles which the most admire. But with a nobler aim, and higher born, look down on greatness with contempt and scorn. Thou hadst no arts that others this might see, nor lovedst a trumpet to thy piety, but silent and retired, calm and serene, stol'st to thy blessed haven hardly seen. It were vain to describe thee then, but now thy vast accession harder is to know. How full of light, and satisfied thou art, so early from this treacherous world to part. How pleased thou art reflections now to make, and find thou didst not things below mistake. In how abstracted converse thou dost live, how much thy knowledge is intuitive. How great and bright a glory is enjoyed with angels and in mysteries employed. 'Tis sin then to lament thy fate, but we should help thee to a new eternity, and by successive imitations strive, till time shall die to keep thee still alive, and by thy great example furnished be more apt to live than write thy elegy. 68. On Rosania's apostasy and Lucasia's friendship. Great soul of friendship, whither art thou fled? Where dost thou now choose to repose thy head? Or art thou nothing but voice, air, and name, found out to put souls in pursuit of fame? Thy flames being thought immortal, we may doubt whether they e'er did burn that see them out. Go, wearied soul, find out thy wonted rest in the safe harbour of Orinda's breast. There all unknown adventures thou hast found in thy late transmigrations expound, that so Rosania's darkness may be known to be her want of lustre, not thy own. Then to the great Lucasia have recourse, there gather up new excellence and force, till by a free unbiassed clear commerce, endearments which no tongue can e'er rehearse, Lucasia and Orinda shall thee give eternity, and make even friendship live. Hail, great Lucasia, thou shalt doubly shine, what was Rosania's own is now twice thine. Thou saw'st Rosania's chariot and her flight, and so the double portion is thy right. Though 'twas Rosania's spirit, be content, since 'twas at first from thy Orinda sent. 69. To my Lady Elizabeth Boyle, singing now affairs, etc. Subduing fair, what will you win to use a needless dart? Why then so many to take in one undefended heart? I came exposed to all your charms, gainst which the first half hour I had no will to take up arms, and in the next no power. How can you choose but win the day, who can resist your siege, who in one action knew the way to vanquish and oblige? Your voice, which can in melting strains teach beauty to be blind, confines me yet in stronger chains by being soft and kind. Whilst you my trivial fancy sing, you it to wit refine, as leather once stamped by a king became a current coin. By this my verse is sure to gain eternity with men, which by your voice it will obtain, though never by my pen. I'd rather in your favour live, than in a lasting name, and much a greater rate would give for happiness than fame. 70. Submission. 'Tis so, and humbly I will resign, nor dare dispute with Providence divine. In vain, alas, we struggle with our chains, but more entangled by the fruitless pains. For as i' the great creation of this all, nothing by chance could in such order fall, and what would single be deformed confessed, grows beauteous in its union with the rest. So Providence like wisdom we allow, for what created once does govern now, and the same fate that seems to one reverse, is necessary to the universe. All these particular and various things, linked to their causes by such secret springs, are held so fast, and governed by such art, that nothing can out of its order start. The world's gods watch where nothing is so small, but makes a part of what composes all. Could the least pin be lost or else displaced, the world would be disordered and defaced. It beats no pulse in vain, but keeps its time, and undiscerned to its own height doth climb. Strung first and daily wound up by his hand, who can its motions guide and understand. No secret cunning then, nor multitude, can Providence divert, cross, or delude. And her just full decrees are hidden things, which harder are to find than births of springs. Yet all in various consorts fitly sound, and by their discords harmony compound. Hence is that order, life, and energy, whereby forms are preserved though matters die, and shifting dress keep their own living state. So what kills this does that propagate. This made the ancient sage in rapture cry, that sure the world had full eternity. For though itself to time and fate submit, he's above both who made and governs it. And to each creature hath such portion lent, as love and wisdom sees convenient. For he's no tyrant, nor delights to grieve the beings which from him alone can live. He's most concerned, and hath the greatest share in man, and therefore takes the greatest care to make him happy, who alone can be so by submission and conformity. For why should changes here below surprise, when the whole world its revolution tries? Where were our springs, our harvest's pleasant use, unless vicissitude did them produce? Nay, what can be so wearisome a pain, as when no alterations entertain? To lose, to suffer, to be sick and die, arrest us by the same necessity. Nor could they trouble us, but that our mind hath its own glory unto dross confined. For outward things remove not from their place, till our souls run to beg their mean embrace. Then doting on the choice make it our own, by placing trifles in the opinion's throne. So when they are divorced by some new cross, our souls seem widowed by the fatal loss. But could we keep our grandeur and our state, nothing below would seem unfortunate. But grace and reason, which best succours bring, would with advantage manage everything, and by right judgment would prevent our moan, for losing that which never was our own. For right opinion's like a marble grot, in summer cool, and in the winter hot. A principle which in each fortune lives, bestowing Catholic preservatives. 'Tis this resolves, there are no losses, where virtue and reason are continued there. The meanest soul might such a fortune share, but no mean soul could so that fortune bear. Thus I compose my thoughts grown insolent, as the Irish harper doth his instrument, which if once struck doth murmur and complain, but the next touch will silence all again. End of Part 7.